I got a song in my heart, it's a good day. No 9 to 5 to get in my way. Music's the key to all of my needs. New lines waiting for me. Got a song in my heart, it's a good day. Like I keep doing it my way. Find it free to be all I can be. Got some living to do. This song is a song that I wrote for a web series called Meg Ramsey, and it transformed my life. Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsey Wilson, and welcome, guests, family, and my sisters. It's great to be here, as well as the Expo participants. Today, we're going to talk about the power of your voice. It's important. The voice is your calling card. It's the way you let the world know that you exist. Many people are not comfortable with their voices. And if you don't like your voice, you're not likely to use it. How do you feel about your voice? Do you like it? If not, you might want to ask yourself why, because there might be a very good reason for that. You know, I am the youngest of 3. I have 2 older brothers, and my father was diagnosed with an illness, and some real serious decisions had to be made. And so my mother and my 2 older brothers just basically took the bull by the horns and made those difficult decisions. Well, as the youngest, and as a female, and as a daddy's girl, I really wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted suggestions that I had that I thought would help my father to be made in that circle. And I know my family didn't mean to do this, but I was kind of shut out because everybody was emotional at that time. There were a lot of things going on. But I'll tell you this, it affected me in a huge emotional way. Why? Because the voice comes from the heart. So when you minimize it, it affects the heart. I'm going to share with you my story about how I found my voice, nurtured my voice, and used my voice to empower myself and others. For me, it started with not knowing I had a voice. I just knew that I had a song in my heart, and it was a good day. It was a good day when Lindsey Wilson graduated from University. It was a good day when I started my first job in an advertising agency in Midtown Manhattan. It was a good day when I received my first bonus check for over $1,000. It was a good day when I got my first promotion. I felt untouchable, invincible. In the 80s and 90s, the corporate life was very, very good to me. It kept me secure, it kept me confident, and a little cocky. But it made me happy. This is what corporate life did for me, and it probably did the same thing for many corporate babies out there as well. I come from a corporate family. Both my parents worked in the corporate sector for years. My mother worked at RCA in the 40s and 50s. She made transistors and worked at AT&T as an administrator. My dad worked for NASA and for Bell Laboratories as a technical writer. He was an engineer. Both my parents came from extreme poverty, and I'm positive that motivated them to work very hard to ensure that my 2 older brothers and I would have a good life. And we most definitely did. In 2008, the economy tanked. Does anybody remember that? I remember it. I was laid off from a job that I loved. and I was booted out of the corporate sector, free falling into the abyss of unemployment. But strangely enough, I didn't panic because I had enough money saved up, so I thought. I had a decent severance package that should last me for a bit. So I was told. None of it was true, but I would be okay because now I had a chance to relax myself, um, and I had a little time to kind of get to know who I was because I was burnt. I was burnt anyway. After working 20 years with very few vacations, I thought it was probably a good time to give myself a break and enjoy my hiatus and to get my second wind, basically. It was all very romantic at the time. I felt I had slayed the dragon. That economic crash was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because, as the song goes, there was no 9 to 5 to get in my way. This free zone I created for myself allowed me to explore a new world that I wasn't really encased in a skyscraper. It was very romantic indeed for me, and this is where music became the love of my life. Now, I've played music all my life. I played in elementary school, junior high school, college. I played clarinet, bass clarinet, alto sax, and a little bit of French horn. And I even taught myself to play guitar when I was 11. So music wasn't foreign to me. But this time, it was different. I found this voice that no one knew I had. How do you think I was able to find my voice? Think about it. I'm just curious. I mean, you can put it in the chat box if you like. How do you think that happened? Through adversity. If I had not been booted out, if I had not been laid off from my job, I know exactly where I would have been. Complacent. So with this new voice that I gave myself, I found a new name, Lindsey Wilson. And it meant a lot to me because it spoke to that new woman ready to blaze her own trail. Confident, bold, and daring. That's what I felt like. And I was falling in love with this new voice that I was getting to know better. And when you're falling in love for the first time, as some of us know, it can be a little bit scary. But once I had committed, I knew that music would be the key to all of my needs. So I stepped out of my comfort zone, ladies, and Lindsey Wilson, my creative self, was born. I wanted to nurture this voice. I wanted to take care of her. So I invested in my new voice. I got a few guitar lessons. I learned to perform in front of people. I got over my stage fright and made some wonderful friends who were musicians and artists. And I even became an activist for social change. There was nothing in my way to stop me, nothing to interrupt my creative flow. I wrote some of my most profound music at that time. And this was the time, actually, when I created my motivational music platform. That was born at that time. It is a platform designed to empower people through song who are looking for their what? I'm sorry, their what?
Their voice.
Their voice to be heard. There are no accidents. I was right on time. My life was on time because the world was changing and so was I. And I wanted to be a part of that change. But hold up, Stop the presses, turn down the heat. My parents came into that dream, flicked on the light, and told music to get out. Get out of my daughter's bed and I get out of her life. I was having a relationship, you see, with my music, but my folks wanted no part of that music monkey business. Don't get me wrong. There were days when I questioned my immortality, where I was going to be in the next 5 or 10 years, and there were days when I was rather depressed because I knew how scared my parents were for me because I was unemployed and I could not find a job. All of those contacts that I had cultivated in those 20 years, they had either left the city, left the state, left the country, or left this planet. My parents knew it wasn't my fault. They just couldn't get their minds around it. They couldn't fathom how in the world was I going to get by playing guitar. How are you going to save up for pension, Lynn? They didn't call me Lindsay. They wouldn't dare call me Lindsay at the time. How about medical coverage and a retirement plan? How are you going to do all this by writing a song? Crickets, crickets, crickets. Let's face it, they had a point. That economic crash may have saved my creative soul, but it killed and destroyed my bank account. There were so many nights that I cried myself to sleep because I was looking at my future, or lack thereof. And I didn't quite like what I saw. My funds began to dwindle, and leaning on family and friends, well, that seemed less appealing. It got so bad, actually, that I was homeless, and God kept me sane through all of that. This was the pivotal moment in my life, folks. We all have them. That make or break moment when your back's up against the wall. You got to do something. This is where choices had to be made, and standing your ground could actually be a rather uphill battle. I could have gone down south, I could have lived with my family, but I chose to stick it out and fight the good fight with my music by my side. I had to risk disappointing my family, my friends, all those who loved me. I had to make that choice to pull away from that comfort zone. Now, this is what you call the valley, where you feel your lowest. With all those good days, now comes the rain. And just to reassure you, when you attempt to live your best life, sometimes you're going to really suffer. So I ask you, what are you willing to lose? What are you willing to give up to find your voice? I gave up my security. I gave up a roof over my head. There's a quote that I thought was very appropriate here. We have to change in order to create something. We grow the most through challenge and discomfort. Amen. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because it was getting me actually prepared for this wonderful life to come. So through it all, the homelessness, the low income, I performed with my band, the Human Hearts Trio, and sang my heart out. I continued to invest in myself and what I loved. So as my corporate life made me happy, my creative life made me humble. Humble enough to be introduced to two people who would have an impact on my creative life. Filmmaker, director Teresa Brown, and Meg Ramsey. Who is Meg Ramsey? Meg Ramsey is a woman who left corporate America to become a singer-songwriter in New York City. This web series was our voice, our collective voice, not to mention our family, our friends, and strangers. Teresa wrote the script and directed it and edited it, and I starred as Meg Ramsey and wrote most of the music for it. Paula Nance was one of the producers. And although this may seem as an art imitating life story, Meg Ramsey was a lot stronger than I was, I tell you. She left corporate America on her own to make something of herself. And Teresa and I wanted the viewers to be inspired by that. I feel that I have created my motivational music platform for all the Meg Ramseys of the world that have a song in their heart, who seek to take a leap of faith. Teresa and I spent 3 years of our lives, quite a sacrifice, to create 2 seasons, 14 episodes per season, with no budget. Insanity, to bring Meg Ramsey to a laptop near you. And to celebrate the singer-songwriter creative process from the conference room to concert stage. So let's wrap it up here, shall we? And let's talk about a few things I'd like for you to think about. Are you willing to love yourself enough to know what you want the most? How have you invested in your life? What things are you willing to sacrifice to live your best life? I want you to think about it and then join me at the Virtual Vision Workshop on August 22nd and 23rd for some helpful tips to navigate you through this new normal and to live your best life. And you can also visit my website, lindseywilson.com, and download some motivational music and be cordially invited to the Meg Ramsey Watch Party, 2nd season. It was great sharing my journey with you today, and I want you to enjoy the expo, and always remember, put a song in your heart. You got some living to do. Use your voice to live it. Thank you. Take care.
Bravo!